everyone, my name is Haley and welcome back or welcome to my channel. As you can see, we have a stack of books and I cannot let go of this stack of books unless I want them to all topple over. And so if you couldn't guess by now, this week's video is going to be a huge book haul. I have over 20 books here in this stack and I'm super excited to talk to you about them and just start reading them. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I am going to have to separate this because I don't need that falling on me or ruining any of the covers of these beautiful books. I will not be going in any particular order for any of these books, and I will be diving into a brief synopsis of each of them unless one of them is a sequel, and I think only one of them is. So let me show you what I bought. Also, ignore what I said in my last book haul book shopping video about saving money because I obviously didn't listen to myself and I don't need a reminder of that, so we're just gonna pretend that I didn't say anything in that video. The first book that I have here is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is not new, it's been out for a long time, but I just never had the urge to pick it up until now, obviously. This is a trilogy, I believe, and it is dark academia, school trying to kill you, I believe. And this one line on the back is just, it captivates you. It says, "I decided that Orion Lake needed to die after the second time he saved my life." So I think the Sholamans is what it's called, is the school, and it's a school of dark magic, and it seems like our main character is kind of on the outskirts of the social circle and Orion seems like the popular guy, and there is some sort of turmoil between them and she has to, you know, survive the school and him is what it seems like. So I don't know too much about it, but I love anything that has to do with a school and magic and just dark academia. Like, I devoured Ninth House. I love that book. 5 stars. I really loved Catherine House, so anything with like a school setting or something like that, I just eat it up. The next book on here is Counterweight by Juna. It's D-J-U-N-A, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, and it is translated by Anton Her. I just love this cover so much. I'm pretty sure this is a Korean science fiction novel. So it says, "On the fictional island of Patusan, and much to the ire of the Patusan natives, the Korean conglomerate LK is constructing an elevator into Earth's orbit, gradually turning this one-time tropical resort town into a teeming travel hub, a gateway to and from our planet. Up in space, holding the elevator spider cable taut, is a mass of space junk known as the Counterweight, and stashed within that junk is a trove of crucial data, a memory fragment left by LK's former CEO, and control of which will determine the company's and humanity's future." Seems like a space adventure, and I just love the idea that you can take an elevator to Earth. Like, I absolutely hate elevators, but that's pretty cool, so really excited for that. Also, I'm gonna be saying that I'm really excited for literally all of these books, but that's fine. The next one I have is A Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. I was so happy to see it in paperback because I was gonna buy the hardcover, but hardcovers are expensive. But also this is just so much prettier than the hardcover, so I was really stoked about that. And it was also a finalist for the Nebula Award and the Los Angeles Times Ray Bradbury Prize, and Fahrenheit 451 is one of my favorite books. That's all I needed to see to convince me. But this says, "The transnational tech corporation Dianima has sealed off the remote Kondau archipelago, where a species of octopus has been discovered that may have developed its own language and culture. The marine biologist Dr. Ha Nguyen, who has spent her life researching cephalopod intelligence, will do anything for the chance to study them. She travels to the islands to join Dianima's team, a battle-scarred security agent and the world's first and possibly last android." I've always been super curious about like octopus and dolphins and how smart they are. I have Other Minds. It's a non-fiction book about the intelligence of octopus. I haven't read it yet, but I have it, and so this seems like a kind of like that movie Arrival with octopus. So I don't know, I'm really interested to see this. I feel like it's going to be really good and I want more sea creature science fiction. So if you have any recommendations, please comment down below. The next book I have is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I saw Peru's Project talk about this. I love her videos, and so I was like, okay, if Reagan liked it, I need to put it on my TBR. And I saw it at the store and I couldn't resist. It says, "It starts with a letter and an ominous journey across dark waters. 10 years after being sent away to the mainland to become a bard, Jack Tamerlane is summoned home to Cadence. Girls are going missing from the island and a Sierra, his childhood nemesis and the future leader of the clan, believes Jack is the only one who can find them. The element spirits that dwell in every breath of air, splash of water, blade of grass, and flicker of fire find mirth in the lives of the humans, and a bard's music is the only way to summon them and ask that the girls can be returned. I haven't read any fantasy like this, but again, I think I have a theme going with this and this, so maybe I'm in my like sea creature mermaid era, I don't know. But I thought this synopsis was super interesting. I always love a new fantasy world to get into. This cover is beautiful, and I know there's a sequel, so I'm excited to see if this is a series that I'm gonna want to keep reading and just see what all the hype is about, because I know a lot of people love this. The next book that I have is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Again, stunning cover, and I like that it's a hardcover with no dust jacket. I love hardcovers like that. A fun fact about me, growing up, I was obsessed with fairies. I would stick notes to them underneath my pillow, and my mom would write back, but when I was little, I thought it was fairies, and I was just obsessed with them. And we have a curio cabinet downstairs that has a bunch of fairy figurines in it. Like, me, my mom, and my sister, if it's one thing about us, is that we love fairies. So obviously I had to pick this up, and again, I'm in my dark academia era after reading Discovery of Witches, Ninth House. Like, this is right up my alley right now. So it says a curmudgeonly professor journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folklore and discovers dark magic, friendship, and love in this heartwarming and enchanting fantasy. I'm pretty sure this is like a cozy fantasy, and I don't really read a lot of cozy fantasies, so maybe this will change my mind. Next has been highly anticipated for me, and that is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I love The Love Hypothesis. Love on the Brain is one of those books that I haven't finished yet, and I'm literally like 85% of the way through, so I don't know what's stopping me. But this is the next book in like her STEM romance books, and so it says rival physicists collide in a vortex of academic feuds and fake dating shenanigans in this delightfully STEMinist rom-com. I love fake dating, and I also love work rivals to lovers, so I think this is gonna be right up my alley, and I'm sure a lot of you know what it's about already, but I'm super excited to get into this. I'll probably read this in November because that's my birthday month, and I just want to read all the books I'm super excited for, so that's going on the list. Next we have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I don't know what it is about TJ Klune's books, but I feel like they take forever to come out in paperback. I was not going to buy this in hardcover because I have The House in the Cerulean Sea in paperback, and I just didn't want to mix them, and so I was waiting for this to come out, and it finally did, and I'm super excited. So this follows our main character named Wallace, and the Reaper comes to collect him after his own funeral, and so Hugo, who is the owner of a peculiar tea shop, promises to help Wallace cross over, but he is not ready to abandon his life, and so he's given 1 week before he has to cross over, and he sets out to live a lifetime in 7 days. The House in the Cerulean Sea made me cry. Sob might be the better word, and so I feel like Under the Whispering Door is going to do the same thing, especially if there's romance at the end. It's just, I know it's gonna get me. And I'm also waiting for In the Lives of Puppets to come out on paperback, but that's not out yet. But I've been waiting to pick up another TJ Klune book after I read House in the Cerulean Sea, and I feel like this is just gonna be another 5-star read. Okay, next we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I don't know what Amazon was doing, but they were like 50% off hardcovers when I was browsing, so I bought this, even though I would have wanted the paperback, but the paperback was like 18 and this was 10. It didn't compute. The math was not mathing. I'm sure you have seen this everywhere. This is a literary fiction about two friends who are game developers, and it kind of just follows their life from when they meet until they're adults, and it's about love and life and everything in between. It's not a love story, but there is love in it, and I think that is a very important distinction to make. I know this book destroys people, and I'm not a big literary fiction person, so I wanted to dip my toe in the water and see if I would enjoy this, so I'm really excited to get to it. I don't know when I will get to it, but I'm really excited for this. Next, we have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Also, I like have a love-hate relationship ordering books off of Amazon because, what is this? Why does this look like it's been folded like 20 times and now it's threads away from ripping? But I can't tell you too much about this because it is the sequel to Ninth House. What I will tell you is that you have to read Ninth House and you have to tell me what you thought. I literally loved it so much, and I'm super excited to read this. The only reason I haven't started it yet is because I don't like to jump into sequels right away because I feel like I'll get burnt out of the world and not finish the book. So I'll probably read this in 2 or 3 books time. Now I'm telling time with books. I'm going to get to this really soon. I need to know what happens, and it seems like it's going to be way more adventurous than the first one, and I'm all for that. So I miss Alex and I miss our little friends, and I'm really stoked for this. Next we have The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. This is another book that I was waiting to go on paperback, and I literally, it's been out for like a year or maybe more, and there was no paperback, so I just decided to buy it. I've already started reading it, as you can see, but I'm only about halfway through, a little less than half, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. This is about our main character, Lore. She can control death magic, and one day she gets caught and is taken to like the church to infiltrate the crown prince and see like if he is the one selling the kingdom's secrets, because there has been villages that just die overnight. So she is in charge of getting close to the prince without him knowing about it, and also trying to figure out why these villages are dying at random. Yeah, I won't say much about it, and I won't say too much about my thoughts because I'm probably going to do a wrap up and we will see what I think about it once it's done. But for now, it's just okay. Next, we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Sorry, I usually take these off before I show you the books, but the last time I tried to take one off, it left the residue and I have to use Glue Gun, and I don't want to deal with that, so we're getting books with stickers on the front. I've never read a Riley Sager book, but I've always wanted to, and this one just really caught my attention. It says, it is a deliciously twisty and addictive gothic chiller about a young caregiver assigned to work for a woman accused of a Lizzie Borden-like massacre decades earlier. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. Oh yeah, she's mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with our main character by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. And then one night she uses it to make an offer and says, "I want to tell you everything." So I'm super excited for this. I definitely want to read it in October. It seems like it's going to be a really interesting and fun mystery, a very interesting way to tell a story. I hope there's like transcripts in here about her writing the letters, but really stoked for this. Next we have A Shadow Crown by Melissa Blair, the second book in the Halfling saga. Again, I can't go too much into detail about this, but everyone should read A Broken Blade, which is the first one in this book. It is like a romantasy, and A Broken Blade is about this girl who is the king's assassin, and I think there's more like infiltrating and trying to figure out what's going on and trailing people and all that stuff, kind of like The Foxglove King. But honestly, it's been a long time since I read the first one, so I need to dust up on my Broken Blade lore, but I remember loving it. I gave it 5 stars, and this is the sequel, and I can't tell you too much about it, but you should definitely read the first one. Okay, and then we have Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. Again, this is not new. This is very popular, and I just am a little bit late to the game. It says, a formidable outlaw family that claims to be the first among nations, a son destined to lead, thrust suddenly into power, 3 fierce young women in the Rotten, the Queen's premier guard, a legendary street thief leading a mission determined to prove herself, a dark secret that is a threat to the entire continent. When outlaw leader meets reformed thief, a cat and mouse game of false moves ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. This is a YA fantasy, and it seems like it's going to be packed with adventure, and I love a good adventure. And then we have this little guy. It's called Kappa by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. I love him. He's so cute. It is a Japanese fiction book, and it is about this person, patient number 23. He's a madman in a Japanese lunatic asylum, and it is narrated by him, and he recounts how while he was hiking one day he spotted a kappa, which is this thing right here, and he wanted to chase it, and he tumbles down a hole out of the human world and into the world of kappas, kind of like Alice in Wonderland. As he is discovering their world, he makes some parallels to Japanese customs around morality, justice, economics, and sex, and when he returns to Japan he is disgusted by humanity. So I'm just really excited to read this. I love weird Japanese fiction books, if you couldn't tell, so I'm really excited to read this. I've never heard of it before. I saw it at the bookstore, so let me know if you've read it and what you thought. Next we have The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller. I love this cover so much, and honestly I don't know too much about it, so I'm just gonna read you the whole synopsis because I read it one time and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then it left my brain. So it says, tucked away behind a notorious house of ill repute, there is a garden garden where the trees are grown from bones and nourished by the darkest of secrets. The clattering, ghastly harvest is tended to by the women who live and work at Orchard House. Charm the madam and her haunting beautiful charges, shame, justice, desire, pride, and pain. Except on Tuesdays when the emperor alone calls at Orchard House to see his personal concubine. Until the day he summons Charm instead of the palace to charge her with his dying decree. Choose which of his horrible sons will inherit the empire by discovering which one has been responsible for his murder. If she completes this final task, she will be freed from a life of bondage and servitude. Torn between the dead emperor's will and the whispers of her own ghost, Charm must choose justice for an empire she hates or vengeance at the cost of her own freedom. Like, that just sounds so interesting. Again, like, Foxglove King is trying to figure out which one of these royals is not being a good person, and that's exactly what this is like too, and so I'm really excited for this. I've never read anything by this author. I haven't heard too much about this book either, so again, let me know if you've read it, and I really want to get to it in October. It seems like the perfect spooky book. Next we have The Trader Borrowed Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. I'm pretty sure this is a trilogy, if not more, and again, reading the synopsis, I don't even know how to condense it, so I'm just gonna read the whole thing to you. Tomorrow on the beach, Borrowed Cormorant will look up from the sand of her home and see red sails on the horizon. The Empire of Masks is coming, armed with coin and ink, doctrine and compass, soap and lies. They will conquer Barrow's island, rewrite her culture, criminalize her customs, and dispose of one of her fathers. But Barrow is patient. She'll swallow her hate, prove her talent, and join the masquerade. She will learn the secrets of the Empire, she'll be exactly what they need, and she'll claw her way high enough up the rungs of power to set her people free. In a final test of her loyalty, the masquerade will send Barrow to bring order to distant Ardwin, a snake pit of rebels, informants, and seditious dukes. Ardwin kills everyone who tries to rule it. To survive, Barrow will need to untangle this land's intricate web of treachery and conceal her attraction to the dangerously fascinating Duchess Tane Hu. But Barrow is a savant in games of power, as ruthless in her tactics as she is fixated on her goals. In the calculus of her schemes, all ledgers must be balanced and the price of liberation paid in full. Again, an amazing adventure story is what this seems like, and this cover is beautiful. A romance also. Like, I'm super excited to read this. I've heard great things and I really hope it lives up to the hype. I don't see why it wouldn't. Next book is Translation State by Anne Leckie, winner of the Hugo, Nebula, and Arthur C. Clarke Awards. So this is obviously going to be a phenomenal science fiction book, or it should be a phenomenal science fiction book. I love this cover. It is so pretty. Again, let me just read the synopsis to you. Caven was created to be a Presker translator, the pride of their clade. They always had a clear path before them, learn human ways, and eventually make a match and serve as an intermediary between the dangerous alien Presker and the human worlds. But Caven rebels against that future, a choice that brings them into the orbit of two others. Anae, a reluctant diplomat attempting to hunt down a fugitive who has been missing for over 200 years, and Reet, an adopted mechanic who is increasingly desperate to learn about his biological past, or anything that might explain why he operates so differently from those around him. As the conclave of the various species approaches and the long-standing treaty between the humans and the Presker is on the line, the decisions of all three will have ripple effects across the stars. This also reminds me of Arrival because she is like a translator between the aliens and the humans, I believe. I didn't finish the movie, but if I remember correctly, that's what it was. I'm really trying to read more science fiction, and this just caught my eye when it was on Edelweiss, so I waited for it to come out, and now I have it, and I am really looking forward to reading it. Next, we have God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This is another YA fantasy. I think this cover is super pretty too. Gods are forbidden in the kingdom of Midrin, formed by human desires and fed by their worship. There are countless gods in the world, but after a great war, the new king outlawed them and now pays god killers to destroy any who try to rise from the shadows. And so our main character Kissin, when she was a child, saw her family murdered by a fire god, and now she makes a living killing them and enjoying it. But everything changes when she is tasked with helping a young noble girl whose soul is bonded to a tiny god of white lies, and Kissin can't kill it without ending the girl's life too. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, the unlikely group must travel to the ruined city of Blenredin, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favor. So this just sounds really interesting as well. I love anything that has to do with gods, and I think this is gonna be maybe a series, duology, trilogy, I'm not exactly sure. But this seems like a really fun read. I just love gods and monsters, and I hope this is gonna deliver exactly that. The next book I have is Vampires of Elnorte by Isabel Cañas. She also wrote The Hacienda, which I really enjoyed, and so I will read this to you. As the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nina knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with Anglo settlers from the north, but something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night, something that drains men of their their blood and leaves them for dead, something that once attacked Nina 9 years ago. Believing Nina dead, Nestor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch working as a vaquero. But no amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth, no woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. When the United States invades Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road to war. Nina as a curandera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father so that he does not marry her off to a stranger, and Nestor as a member of the auxiliary cavalry of ranchers and vaqueros. But the shock of their reunion and Nina's rage at Nestor for seemingly abandoning her long ago is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. And unless Nina and Nestor work together through their past and face the future, neither will survive to see the dawn. The hacienda was super atmospheric, and that was one thing I really loved about it, and I feel like Vampires of Elnorte will be the same thing. I love the setting, and I'm just, again, really stoked to get to this. The cover is beautiful, and it will be a great October read. The next book I have is Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I haven't read anything by her. I have been wanting to read Mexican Gothic, but for some reason I just haven't read it yet. But this really caught my eye when I saw it at the store. Obviously the cover is stunning, but the synopsis is super interesting. I've never read a book like it, so I will share that with you now. Montserrat has always been overlooked. She's a talented sound editor, but she's left out of the boys club running the film industry in the 90s in Mexico City. And she's all but invisible to her best friend Tristan, a charming if faded soap opera star, though she's been in love with him since childhood. Then Tristan discovers that his new neighbor is the cult horror director Abel Ureta, and the legendary auteur claims that he can change their lives, even if his tale of a Nazi occultist imbuing magic into highly volatile silver nitrate stock sounds like sheer fantasy. The magic film was never finished, which is why Ureta swears his career has vanished overnight. He is cursed. Now the director wants Montserrat and Tristan to help him shoot the missing scene and lift the curse, but Montserrat soon notices a dark presence following her, and Tristan begins seeing the ghost of his ex-girlfriend. As they work together to unravel the mystery of the film and the obscure occultist who once roamed their city, Montserrat and Tristan may find that sorcerers and magic are not only the stuff of movies. Like, doesn't that just sound so cool and really good? I really enjoy watching horror movies. I've recently become really into them, and this seems like the perfect coupling of a horror movie classic and a great horror novel, so I really hope to get to this in October. The next book is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. I'm sure you've heard me rave about Sea of Tranquility, which is also by this author, one of my all-time favorite books, and The Glass Hotel is mentioned briefly in Sea of Tranquility, so of course I had to go out and buy it. Do I really know what it's about? No, but she said it, so I will read it. Vincent is a bartender at the Hotel Cayette, a 5-star lodging on the northernmost tip of Vancouver Island. On the night she meets Jonathan Alcides, a hooded figure scrawls a message on the lobby's glass wall. Why don't you swallow broken glass? High above Manhattan, a greater crime is committed. Alcides is running an international Ponzi scheme, moving imaginary sums of money through clients' accounts. When the financial empire collapses, it obliterates the countless fortunes and devastates lives. Vincent, who had been posing as Jonathan's wife, walks away into the night. Years later, a victim of the fraud is hired to investigate a strange occurrence. A woman has seemingly vanished from the deck of a container ship between ports of call. If I remember correctly, there is like a little story about this in Sea of Tranquility. One of the main characters in Sea of Tranquility is meeting a friend. He suffered from this Ponzi scheme, I believe. So I'm really excited to dive back into her book. I didn't think we'd ever get to this moment, but we've made it to the end. And the last book that I bought is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Again, I don't know why it took me so long to get to this series. I don't want to talk about it. I just really want to read it because I've heard great things. It's a very short synopsis. It says, his wife taken, his people enslaved. Driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Dara will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. I feel like there's a theme with like the sci-fi and fantasy books I like reading where someone is infiltrating someone else and they need to keep it a secret, which I guess is what infiltrating means. I am really stoked for this. I'm stoked for every single book on this list. Please don't unsubscribe because of how many times I've said that. But this has been on my radar for a long time and I just decided to bite the bullet and get the book. That was everything that I have acquired for this book haul. There's this stack. Oh my god. This stack. this stack. So I need to find space for all of these on my bookshelf, but I'm replacing this one right here with the same size as this one, so I will have a video coming of bookshelf reorganization and all of that stuff, so I won't need to keep these on my floor for too long. Maybe the next book haul I'll do is around my birthday, because I might buy myself some books for my birthday. Obviously I have to buy myself something. But let me know if you've read any of these books, if any of these are newly acquired for your bookshelf, and if you are highly anticipating any of them like I am. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!